My name is Paige Ellison, and I'm 34 years old.
3 weeks ago, my boyfriend looked me in the eye across our kitchen table and told me he'd developed a connection with another woman while we were still together.
He said it the way you might describe discovering a new podcast or a favorite restaurant. Casual, thoughtful, as if he'd spent the whole flight home workshopping how to make cheating sound like a growth experience.
I didn't cheat, Paige, he said, setting his fork down like he was closing a deal. I just developed a connection with someone I met on the trip. I remember staring at the condensation sliding down my water glass, one droplet, then another, racing toward the ring at the bottom. Is that what we're calling it now? I asked. My voice came out lighter than I felt. A connection? It's not that simple. The part that surprised him most, I think, was that I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even raise my voice. I just looked at him and said, "It is now." Ryan and I had been together for 4 years. We met when we were both 30, at a coworker's birthday thing. Some crowded rooftop bar, where the music was too loud and the cocktails had names like Cloud Integration. He was the charming sales guy with the easy laugh and the perfectly rolled sleeves. I was the software developer who smelled faintly of coffee and server rooms. We fell into a relationship the way you fall into a routine. One shared Uber, one late-night debugging session he stayed up for, just to keep you company, one weekend trip that felt surprisingly natural. After a year, he moved into my apartment, a 2-bedroom place I'd fought hard for, negotiated down, and furnished piece by piece off my own salary. We had what I thought was a solid life. Nice place, good jobs, trips twice a year when we could swing the PTO. We'd talked vaguely about marriage. Someday, when the timing made sense, when work wasn't so crazy, when we'd saved just a little more. Nothing dramatic, nothing soap opera level, just steady. Then his company sent him to a conference in Austin. 5 days, he'd said, leaning against the counter while I packed him travel-size shampoo. Panels, networking, free breakfast I'm definitely going to sleep through. Try not to miss me too much. Bring me back something weird and Texan, I told him, and call me at night. I want to hear how many buzzwords you survive. He laughed, kissed my forehead, and left early Monday morning. I watched him wheel his suitcase down the hallway and thought about how lucky I was to have something so normal. He did call, at first. Tuesday night. Stories about an over-caffeinated keynote speaker and a panel that should have been an email. Wednesday. Stories about barbecue, some rooftop event, a client who'd cornered him to talk about their fantasy football league. Thursday. I'm exhausted, he'd said, voice a little fuzzy with alcohol. But it's good, you know. I'm making connections. At the time, the word didn't make my stomach drop. Not yet. Friday night, my phone stayed silent. At 10 p.m., I texted, "Everything okay? Flight of buzzwords finally killed you?" 2 hours later, a reply. "Sorry. Late dinner with colleagues. Exhausted. Talk tomorrow?" I stared at the screen, eyebrows pulling together. Ryan could talk for 20 minutes straight about the merits of different phone chargers. Him skipping a call when he'd promised to check in felt off. Saturday morning, another text. "Hey, some people are staying through the weekend to explore the city. Extended my trip by 2 days. That cool?" I didn't love it, but it wasn't insane. Conferences blur into hangouts. Hangouts blur into why not stay? And I'm not his mother. I took a breath. "Sure," I typed. "Have fun. Send pics. Miss you." He didn't send many pictures. He came home Monday evening instead of Saturday. I picked him up from the airport, watching as he scanned the crowd before spotting me. He hugged me, but it felt distracted. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down mid-conversation. "Good trip?" I asked as we walked to the car. Yeah, it was a lot," he said. "Panels, meetings, you know how it is." He talked, but everything he said sounded like placeholder text. Generic. Filled with words, but empty of meaning. I told myself he was just tired. That night, after we'd unloaded his suitcase and he'd taken a long shower, we ended up at the kitchen table with leftover pasta. The apartment was quiet. The kind of quiet that usually feels safe to me. Instead, I felt like someone had turned the volume down on the world and up on every tiny sound. The clink of fork against plate, the low hum of the fridge, the faint buzz of his phone where he'd placed it face down beside his glass. He pushed some penne around, then set his fork down. "We need to talk," he said. Those 4 words never mean anything good. I set my own fork down slower. "Okay, talk." He exhaled, like he was about to present quarterly numbers. "I met someone at this conference," he said. Her name is Sabrina. She's in venture capital. We spent a lot of time together. My stomach dropped, but my face didn't move. Okay, I said, and I think I developed a connection with her, he said, like a real connection, something I haven't felt in a long time. I stared at him, and the man who knew the exact way I take my coffee, the version of my laugh that means I'm actually amused versus just being polite, the way I sleep curled toward the wall when I'm anxious. What does that mean, Ryan? I asked. A connection. It means I'm confused, he said, eyes flicking to mine, then away. About us. About what I want. Sabrina and I, we talked a lot. About life and careers and what we want from the future. She made me realize I've been comfortable, maybe too comfortable. With me, I said. It wasn't a question. That's not what It is what you meant, I said quietly. You just don't like hearing it out loud. He rubbed a hand over his face. Paige, I didn't cheat on you. Nothing physical happened. We just connected, emotionally. I don't want you to think. You extended your trip, I cut in, for 2 extra days, to explore the city, with colleagues. A flush crawled up his neck. We were in a group, he said quickly. Most of the time. Most, I repeated. He met my eyes finally. It's not that simple. It is to me, I said. The air between us thickened. I could feel my heart pounding, like my body was trying to sprint while I stayed perfectly still. So, let me get this straight, I said, my voice remarkably calm even to my own ears. You went to a conference. You met a woman. You spent the weekend with her. You extended your trip to spend more time with her. You came home and now you're telling me you've developed feelings and you're confused about our 4-year relationship. But you want credit because you didn't technically have sex. He flinched. When you say it like that, that's literally what happened, Ryan. I'm not even adding adjectives. He leaned forward. Paige, I just need time to sort through what I'm feeling. To figure out what I want. I don't want to throw away what we have. I'm not going to sit here while you audition other options, I said. He stared at me, thrown off script. That's not what this is. That's exactly what this is, I replied. You want to see if this connection goes anywhere while I keep your spot warm in case it doesn't. That's not fair, he said, voice rising for the first time. I'm being honest with you. Most people would have lied. You're not getting a medal for telling me you emotionally cheated in high definition, I said. You developed feelings for someone else. You extended your trip to nurture those feelings. You came home and told me you're confused about us. That is cheating to me, Ryan, whether you took your clothes off or not. Silence. He swallowed. So what are you saying? I'm saying I'm not confused, I told him. If you're in a place where you can fall in love with someone you've known for a weekend, we're done. His eyes widened. Right now? You're breaking up with me right now? Yes, I said. Tonight, now. Paige, come on. We've been together for 4 years. You're really going to throw that away without even... You threw it away when you chose her, I said. You just waited until you got home to inform me. He shook his head like he could dislodge my decision. I just need time. And I'm telling you, I'm not giving it to you, I said. Pack a bag. You can stay with a friend or get a hotel. We'll figure out the rest later. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. Like I'd suddenly become the unreasonable one in the story he'd written in his head. You're overreacting, he tried. This is... Ryan. I pushed my chair back and stood. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else, but they held. Pack a bag. For 20 minutes, he argued. He insisted nothing physical happened, that I was being dramatic, that I was throwing away something real over something that might mean nothing. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I repeated the same sentence every time he paused for breath. Pack a bag. Eventually, he did. I watched him shove clothes into a duffel, grab his toiletries, yank chargers from outlets like they'd offended him. He stopped in the doorway, bag over his shoulder, face stormy. You're going to regret this, he said. I leaned against the hall wall, suddenly exhausted. I doubt it, I replied. I listened to the door close, listened to his footsteps retreat down the hallway, listened to the elevator whir. Then I went back to the living room and sat on the couch in the dark for almost 2 hours, hands clasped so tightly my knuckles ached. My phone buzzed once on the coffee table. A text preview from an unknown number, just a first name, Sabrina. I didn't open it. Instead, sometime after midnight, I stood up, looked around the apartment we'd called ours, and felt something inside me click into place. This was my lease, my space, my life. He had chosen his connection. I was about to choose what happened next. And step 1, I realized, was simple. Ryan Caldwell didn't live here anymore. The The next morning, I woke up to sunlight and silence. For a second, I forgot. There's this tiny, cruel moment after something blows up when your brain hasn't fully booted the new reality yet. My hand reached instinctively toward the other side of the bed. Cold sheets. Right. Conference, Sabrina. Connection. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. My chest felt heavy, but underneath the ache there was something else. Not relief exactly, more like clarity with sharp edges. Ryan wanted time. I was done giving him any. Around 9 a.m., I rolled over, grabbed my phone, and scrolled to my sister's name. Kara answered on the second ring. Hey, what's up? You never call this early unless something's on fire or you broke prod. Her voice was still rough with sleep. I swallowed. Something's on fire, I said. It's just not a server. That woke her up. Okay, she said, instantly sharper. Talk. I told her everything. The conference, the extended trip, the connection. The way he'd sat across from me like he was explaining a scheduling conflict instead of detonating our relationship. There was a long silence on her end when I finished. He said he didn't cheat because they didn't have sex? She finally asked, voice flat. Yep. And then he wanted time to figure out whether he wants his 4-year girlfriend or the woman he met at a conference. Pretty much. And you told him to get out, she said. Last night. Yeah. Another silence. Then a low, dangerous sound that I recognized as Kara's version of a growl. I am going to kill him, she said calmly, after I help you pack his crap. Despite everything, a laugh broke out of me. It sounded brittle, but it was still a laugh. The lease is in my name, I said. He moved in with me. I don't want to drag this out with some drawn-out negotiation over who keeps what. So don't, she said. We'll box his things, stack them neatly, and when he comes back for his grand let's talk this through show, you can hand him a nice, labeled summary of his consequences. I don't even know when he wants to come get his stuff yet, I said. Tell him he can come this weekend, Kara replied. I'm free Saturday. Miles, too. We'll bring coffee and trash bags. Cardboard boxes, I corrected automatically. Trash bags are for people you're planning to actually kill. That can be plan B, she muttered. After we hung up, I texted Ryan. You can come pick up your things this weekend. Let me know what time works for you. He replied 3 hours later. The message thread above it was a wall of gray, his long texts from last night that I hadn't answered. Can we please talk before we make any big decisions? I didn't cheat. I was honest with you. Doesn't that count for anything? I just need time. This is a lot to process. And then finally, I can come by Sunday around 2? I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Sunday at 2 works, I typed. Your things will be ready. No emojis, no softening language, no we or our, just logistics. Saturday morning, Kara and Miles showed up at my door with cardboard boxes, tape, and the kind of energy people bring when they're not sure if they're here to help you move on or help you bury something. Miles hugged me first, tight and awkward. Hey, Paige, I'm sorry. Ryan's an idiot. An impressive one, Kara added, brushing past me. Point me toward his stuff. We did it like a project. It was easier that way. His clothes came first. We pulled all his button-downs, jeans, jackets out of the closet and folded them into boxes. I paused over a navy shirt I'd bought him for his last birthday. He'd worn it to dinner that night, leaning over the table to kiss me between courses. I held it for a second longer than I meant to. Kara watched me. Do you want to keep any of it? She asked gently. I shook my head and set the shirt into the box. If I want to see this shirt again, I'll go to the store and buy one for myself. We labeled it clothes. Then shoes, toiletries, books, tech, kitchen stuff that was unmistakably his, the stupid copper mug he bought because Moscow mules just taste better this way, the blender he swore he'd use for smoothies and mostly used for margaritas, the sports memorabilia, the random collection of chargers and cables he insisted he'd need someday. Every box we taped shut made the apartment feel a little less shared and a little more reclaimed. How are you doing? Miles asked at one point, wiping sweat from his forehead with the back of his wrist. Like I'm packing up a roommate who died in a very specific plane crash, I said. One that landed in Austin and exploded in a ball of emotional connection. Kara snorted. You're handling this better than I would. You would have set the conference hotel on fire, I said. Allegedly, she replied. By late afternoon, the living room was lined with neatly stacked, neatly labeled boxes. Ryan's presents reduced to cardboard and Sharpie. I took a step back and looked at the wall we'd built. It looks like a warehouse of bad decisions, I said quietly. It looks like closure, Kara said. She bumped her shoulder into mine. Also, you're terrifyingly organized. Have I told you that today? Only 3 times. Good. You should hear it a 4th. You're terrifyingly organized. This is impressive. Saturday evening, my phone buzzed. Thanks for letting me come by tomorrow, Ryan texted. I know this is hard. I'm hoping we can talk. I'm bringing someone with me. I want you to meet her so you can understand. I read the message twice, then a 3rd time. I'm sorry, what? I said out loud to no one. Kara, who was drying dishes in the kitchen, looked over. What happened? I turned the phone so she could see. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. He's bringing Sabrina? Apparently he wants me to understand, I said. I guess an in-person demo is required. Kara's mouth dropped open, then twisted into a disbelieving laugh. Oh, wow, that's bold. That's insane, I supplied. I was going to say suicidal, but sure, she said. What are you going to do? I stared at the boxes, at the labels, at the apartment that had been mine, then ours, and was rapidly shifting back to mine. An idea unspooled in my mind, slow and precise. I already did something, I said. Kara tilted her head. What? I called Holly, I replied. Kara blinked. Your coworker Holly? No, I said, a faint smile pulling at my mouth for the first time that day. His sister. When Ryan and I first started dating, he told me about Holly like she was a mythic figure. 3 years older, the responsible one. The one who'd lectured him through every bad decision from underage drinking to gambling on crypto. We weren't best friends or anything, but we'd gotten along. Holidays, birthdays, the occasional brunch. She'd text me memes about being the functional older sister. I told her what happened, I continued. The conference, the extension, Sabrina, the connection, that he wanted time to decide if our relationship was enough. Kara's eyes gleamed. And she was not impressed, I said. She said, and I quote, he's 34, not 14. Emotional cheating is still cheating. Kara pressed a hand to her heart. I like her already. She asked if I needed anything, I said. So I asked her if she'd be willing to come tomorrow, not to scream or throw things, just to be here, to see it, to help him understand this isn't some private little drama he can spin in his favor later, that people who love him see what he did clearly. And she said yes, Kara guessed. She said she wouldn't miss it, I confirmed. Kara's grin was slow and wicked. This is either genius or completely unhinged. Probably both, I said. Sunday at 1:45 p.m., the apartment was ready. The boxes formed a perimeter around the living room. Kara and Miles sat on the couch. I stood near the door, palm slightly damp, heart doing an anxious tap dance in my chest. At 1:50, the doorbell rang. It wasn't Ryan. It was Holly, in a navy blazer and jeans, hair pulled back, expression set. She stepped inside, glanced at the boxes, and let out a low whistle. Wow, you weren't kidding. Hi, I said, hugging her. Thank you for coming. Of course, she said, hugging me back. For the record, I told him last night he was an idiot. He said I was being judgmental. That's one word for it, Kara muttered from the couch. Holly turned to her. You must be Kara. Guilty, Kara said, standing to shake her hand. I've been wanting to meet you under less murdery circumstances. Same, Holly said dryly. At 2 p.m. exactly, there was a knock at the door. I could hear voices in the hallway. His voice. A woman's laugh that felt like a knife sliding between my ribs. For a fleeting second, doubt flickered. Was I going too far? Was this petty? Cruel? Then I remembered him saying, I just need time to figure out what I want, like my life was a puzzle he could solve at his leisure. I remembered the extra 2 days, the text about extending his trip. I opened the door. Ryan stood there, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, hand in his pocket. Beside him was a woman about our age, glossy hair, sharp blazer, expensive-looking tote, Sabrina. Hey, he said, forcing a smile. Thanks for... He stopped when he saw the boxes. You packed everything, he said slowly. It seemed efficient, I replied, since you don't live here anymore. Sabrina's eyes flicked from the boxes to my face, then back again. This seems a little aggressive, she said, carefully polite. It's organized, I corrected. There's a difference. Everything's labeled. You can double-check if you think I left anything out. Ryan opened his mouth, closing it again when another voice floated from behind me. Hey, little brother. He went pale. Holly stepped into view, arms crossed over her chest. The look on his face, the exact second he realized this wasn't just going to be a quick in and out with his new connection, was something I knew I was going to remember for a very long time. Sabrina blinked between them. You didn't tell me your sister would be here, she said softly. Yeah, Kara added from the couch, leaning forward just enough to be seen. Funny how he left that part out. Ryan's gaze flicked from me to the boxes, to his sister, and back again. What is this? He demanded, voice tight. Consequences, Holly said evenly. Now, let's help you move out. Ryan froze in the doorway, like someone had hit pause on him and only him. Sabrina looked between all of us, clearly realizing she'd walked into something very different from the mature breakup conversation she'd probably imagined. She clutched her purse strap a little tighter. Paige, Ryan said finally, voice low, almost warning. Can we talk privately? No, Holly said before I could open my mouth. We'll talk right here. Ryan shot her a look that was half panic, half betrayal. Holly, what are you doing? What I should have done a long time ago, she said. Making you face yourself. Come on, you brought her here. She gestured to Sabrina. Let's all be adults like you wanted. Sabrina stepped forward, offering a small, hesitant smile that felt painfully rehearsed. Hi, I'm Sabrina, she said, extending a hand. I didn't take it. She let her arm drop back to her side, visibly thrown. Kara muttered under her breath. Read the room, honey. Ryan cleared his throat. Paige, I thought if you met her, you'd understand I didn't do anything wrong. I blinked. You brought the woman you emotionally cheated with to my home to prove you didn't do anything wrong. Miles coughed a laugh into his fist. That's not, Ryan started, then stopped, jaw clenching. This is ridiculous. No, Holly said sharply. What's ridiculous is extending your trip to spend time with another woman, and then expecting Paige to sit here and process your feelings for you. Sabrina lifted her chin. Ryan told me things were basically over between you two, that you'd grown apart. My eyebrows lifted. Is that what he said? Sabrina shifted, uncomfortable now. He said the relationship wasn't fulfilling anymore. Right, Kara said loudly. We call that rewriting history, sweetie. It's common side effect of cheating. Stop calling it cheating, Ryan snapped, voice finally cracking. Nothing physical happened. Physical cheating is when you betray someone's body, Holly said. Emotional cheating is when you betray their heart. You did the second one. She folded her arms tighter. It counts. The room went silent except for the refrigerator humming behind us. Ryan glared at her. You're supposed to be on my side. When you stop behaving like a teenager in a midlife crisis, I will be, she shot back. Kara stifled a snort. Sabrina looked between them, cheeks flushed. Maybe we should just grab the boxes and go. Great idea, Kara said, already standing. There's a dolly by the door. Labels are alphabetical. Think you can handle that? Ryan's nostrils flared. He stalked toward the first stack. He lifted a box labeled Tech, then froze. Why did you pack the router? He demanded. I didn't, I said. That's your old one. Mine is plugged in behind the bookshelf. I've handled this very carefully. Holly let out a short laugh. She's more organized than you deserve. Sabrina grabbed another box. Clothes, and nearly dropped it. Kara didn't hide her smirk. Careful. Regret is heavy. They spent the next 20 minutes silently shuttling boxes out to the hallway and down the elevator. The tension in the air was thick enough to taste. Every few minutes, Ryan would glance at me like he expected me to burst into tears or beg him to stay. I didn't. I stood with my arms crossed, watching like I was overseeing a delivery. At one point, he came back in alone, breathing hard. You didn't have to do it like this, he said quietly. Yes, I said, I did. You blindsided me with Holly. I tilted my head. You blindsided me with Sabrina. That's not the same. It's exactly the same, I said. Except I'm not trying to justify my betrayal. He winced. When the last box was gone, Holly gave me a hug. You deserve better, she said softly. I'm sorry he did this. You didn't do it, I said. Still, she murmured, squeezing a little tighter. If you ever need anything, call me. I will. She turned to her brother. Get your life together, Ryan, she said. This is embarrassing. Sabrina tugged at his sleeve. Let's go. They walked into the hallway. I watched the elevator doors close on the two of them. Sabrina avoiding eye contact, Ryan staring at the floor like he'd finally realized how badly he'd miscalculated. When I shut the apartment door, the air felt different. Quiet, yes, but also clean. Kara walked over and wrapped an arm around my shoulder. You okay? I let out a long breath. I think so. Miles nodded at the wall of empty space where the boxes had been. What now? I looked around my reclaimed apartment. The answer came easily. Now, I said, I changed the locks. I changed the locks the next morning. New deadbolt, new key, new quiet finality. The building's handyman didn't ask questions. He just whistled while he worked, unaware he was sealing the last physical thread Ryan had to my life. By noon, the apartment felt like a place I lived in again. not a museum of memories waiting to accuse me. But the silence had teeth. Every small sound felt amplified. The click of my mug on the counter, the hum of my laptop, the creak of the hallway outside. I'd gotten used to someone else's footsteps, someone else's keys jingling, someone else's scattered energy. Now it was just mine. I made tea, sat on the couch, let the quiet settle, and then my phone buzzed. Ryan. Of course. Ryan. What the hell was that yesterday? Ryan. You ambushed me. Ryan. You made me look terrible in front of Sabrina and Holly. Not cool. Ryan. Can we please just talk without an audience? I ignored the first three. Finally, I typed, "We don't need to talk. Everything needed to be said was said." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Ryan. I didn't cheat, Paige. You keep twisting this. I set the phone down. Letting him talk to the void felt satisfying in a way I didn't expect. But he didn't stop. Ryan. I was honest with you. Can you at least admit that counts for something? Honesty? After spending a weekend nurturing a connection behind my back? No, but I didn't bother replying. Instead, I went for a walk, around the block, down past the bakery where the smell of warm bread always drifted onto the sidewalk, toward the tiny park with the duck pond Ryan always said was too small to be a real park. Walking without him felt strange, like I kept expecting to match his pace, hear his commentary about random joggers, stop so he could point out a dog he liked. But it also felt clearer, like my brain had finally stopped buffering. By the time I got home, there were 2 more texts. Ryan, I meant what I said. I just needed time to figure out my feelings. Ryan, you didn't have to blow everything up this fast. Nerves prickled under my skin. Not anger, not sadness, just certainty. I typed, you extended your trip for her. You hid it. You came home and admitted feelings for someone else. I didn't blow anything up. You did. No response. An hour passed. Another. By evening, my sister Kara texted to check in. Kara, how's the newly purified apartment? Should we smudge it? Light candles? Perform a full exorcism? Quiet, I typed back, almost too quiet. Kara, the peace before the peace. You'll adjust. Me, did Holly text you? Kara, yep. She said thank you for supporting Paige, and also I might strangle my brother with a charger cable someday. A huff laugh escaped me. Kara, she seems cool. Keep her in the divorce. It wasn't a divorce, I typed, then paused. Then added, but yeah, I like her. That night, I slept hard for the first time in days. Like my body had finally decided it was safe to shut down for a few hours. The next morning, there was another message waiting for me. Ryan, Sabrina and I are going to cool things off. The distance is too much. She's going back to San Francisco tomorrow. I stared at the message for a long moment. Part of me expected to feel something. Vindication, maybe. Anger. Relief. Anything. But all I felt was tired. He sent another text before I could respond. Ryan, I don't know what I'm doing. I miss you. I locked my phone and slid it into a drawer like he was a piece of clutter I didn't want on my kitchen counter. Because I wasn't going to be his fallback plan. Not now. Not ever. The next few days were unnervingly quiet. No more blow-ups, no more boxes, no more emotional landmines waiting in the hallway. But the story didn't stay contained for long. By midweek, word was circulating through our friend group. Half-hearted sympathy texts began trickling in from people I hadn't spoken to in months. Some were supportive. What he did was messed up. You deserve better. Others hedged. Maybe he was just confused. At least he didn't sleep with her. A connection isn't the same as cheating. Those people got no replies. Because I'd lived this difference, and I knew. Emotional betrayal carves the deepest wounds. Thursday night, Holly texted me directly. Holly, he's spiraling. Holly, trying to play the victim. I'm not in the mood for it. Holly, just wanted you to know I'm on your side. He'll come around eventually and realize he lost something real. I typed back. Thank you for being there, for everything. Holly, of course. Call anytime. Even if it's just to vent or send me memes about men making terrible choices. I smiled, a small one, but real. On Sunday morning, exactly 1 week after the move-out, Ryan asked if we could meet for coffee. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it forever. Another part knew that loose threads have a way of tangling everything if you don't tie them off. Eventually, I replied, tomorrow noon, the cafe on 5th, the place where we'd gone on our second date. The place where he'd told me, with a shy smile, that he could see us lasting. Now we were meeting there to bury the version of us that didn't survive his choices. I didn't know what closure would look like, or if it would feel like anything at all. But I knew this. Whatever he wanted from me, it wasn't going to change my decision. And tomorrow, I'd say it to his face. The cafe on Fifth looked exactly the same as it had 4 years ago. Sunlight drifting through big windows, the low hiss of the espresso machine, the chalkboard menu that always tilted a little to the left, no matter how many times the baristas straightened it. Everything unchanged. Except me. Except us. Ryan was already there when I walked in. He'd chosen a table in the back, half hidden, like he didn't want an audience for whatever came next. His hair was slightly messy, not in the effortless way he usually styled it, but in the I haven't slept well way. He stood when he saw me. "Hey," he said softly. "Hi." I sat. He sat. A moment stretched between us, brittle and weighted. "You look good," he said. "You don't," I replied without cruelty. He huffed a small humorless laugh. "Yeah, I figured." A waiter passed by. I ordered a latte. Ryan didn't order anything. "You're not getting coffee?" I asked. "I already had some," he said. I glanced at the untouched cup beside him. Cold. Full. He was lying. The man was always terrible at pretending. We sat in silence until he finally broke. "I messed up," he said. "I know that. I know you don't believe me about nothing physical happening, but it's the truth." "It doesn't matter," I said softly. He blinked. "How does that not matter?" "Because you didn't cheat with your body," I said. "You cheated with everything else." He swallowed, eyes shining with something like shame, or maybe regret, or maybe just the fear of losing something familiar. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he said. "Sabrina and I just talked. We connected over work stuff, career stuff. She understood parts of me that I didn't?" I asked quietly. He opened his mouth, closed it. "That's not what I meant." "But it's what you felt," I said. "And that's what matters." He scrubbed a hand across his jaw. "I was confused, Paige. I thought the connection with her meant something. I thought maybe it meant something was missing with us." "And now?" I asked. "And now I know it was fleeting," he said. "Situational, unrealistic. It didn't hold up once real life came back into the picture." "That's what infatuations do," I said. "They burn hot. They fade fast." He looked at me, eyes pleading. "I want us back." I let the words sit between us, heavy and impossible. "I miss you," he said. "Our routines, our home, you." "You miss stability," I said gently. "You miss a soft place to land after making hard choices." He flinched. "That's not fair." "It's honest," I said. "You know it is." He leaned forward. "Paige, you were the best thing in my life. I see that now. I just got caught up." It felt exciting to meet someone new who saw me in this different light. I know that sounds awful. "It sounds human," I said, "but it's still betrayal." He swallowed hard. "Is there any chance? Any chance at all? If we take it slow, if we rebuild?" "No," I said. He stared at me as though the air had been punched out of him. "No?" he echoed. "There's no version of this where we get back together," I said. "Not now, not later." "I still love you," he whispered. I shook my head. "I don't think you do. I think you love the comfort I gave you, the version of yourself you could be with me. But that's not love, Ryan. If you loved me, really loved me, you wouldn't have done this." His eyes reddened. He looked away. "I didn't expect to lose everything," he said quietly. "Not like this." "You didn't lose everything," I said. "You lost me, because you chose someone else while I was still standing right here." He closed his eyes, shoulders caving inward. The waiter brought my latte. Steam curled into the air. I took a sip. Ryan eventually spoke again. "Holly won't talk to me." "She's angry," I said. "But she'll forgive you. Sisters do." "What about you?" I let out a slow breath. "I don't have to forgive you to move on." He nodded, defeated. "So this is goodbye." "It already was," I said. "Today is just the paperwork." A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. We sat there a moment longer. Two people who used to share a life, now strangers held together by nothing but loose memory. Finally, he stood. "Take care of yourself, Paige." "I will." He hesitated like he wanted to hug me, but he didn't. Couldn't. Shouldn't. Then he walked out of the cafe. I watched him cross the street, shrinking with each step until he was no one I recognized anymore. I finished my latte alone. The world felt quiet again, but not empty this time. Just open. That night I slept without dreaming. 4 months passed. Seasons shifted. The apartment became mine in every way it hadn't been before. I moved the couch, replaced the dining table, bought plants I actually kept alive. Holly and I had coffee a few times. She apologized more than she needed to, but I understood. It wasn't her guilt to carry. Ryan and I didn't speak. Once at a coffee shop downtown, I ran into Sabrina. She was alone. She looked startled, then guilty. Then she left her order on the counter and walked out without a word. I didn't chase her. A few weeks later, Ryan sent one last message. Ryan, I hope you're doing well. I think about you sometimes, about what we had. I'm sorry I ruined it. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I put my phone down. Didn't respond. Didn't need to. Some things don't require closure, just distance. Tonight, I'm sitting on my couch with the windows open. The city is humming softly outside. The air smells like rain and new beginnings. Sometimes I think about that moment when Ryan walked in and saw Holly standing beside those labeled boxes. The shock in his eyes. The realization that his actions weren't private. They had witnesses. They had consequences. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. And clarity is something I don't lose anymore. My apartment is warm. My life feels steady. I'm dating again. Nothing serious yet, but different this time. Clearer. I know what I'm looking for, what I won't tolerate, what's real, what I deserve. Life goes on. And honestly, it's going on beautifully without him.